A long time probably since you've seen a movie, but there's a movie coming out in April you need to go see, especially if you're an 80s, 90s kid who was all about video games. They've made this into, they did it in the 90s too, but this version of Mortal Kombat looks incredible. And my good friend Ludi Lin is hanging out with us. He's playing Liu Kang in this version of Mortal Kombat. Dude, the trailer looks insane.
Oh, what's up, Barra? Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw the trailer, but I enjoy the reactions from the fans even more. So I'm glad that you looked it up and got me onto this because I just like to show my appreciation. It's really gratifying.
Now, I did a little digging too, and I saw there was a video that you made of your mom actually watching the trailer, and she was blown away too. That was so awesome to see, man. She was like, looking, wow, and just going crazy, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I take every chance I can to show my mom those things because it's not for me to say I told you so, but you know how worried my mom was for me to go into acting and any of the arts in general. But yeah, it just allays her worries from time to time, so I like to do that for her.
And she's seen you through all of it, through the Power Rangers and Aquaman and now Mortal Kombat. I mean, this is an incredible, I want to call it a legacy piece because you have people that are into it from the video game that might not know it was a mid-90s movie. And now you have people who've heard of the movie who may not have played the video game. And it's going to help bridge and bring a lot of people together going, we need to see this production and then dig a little deeper, you know?
Yeah, and hopefully we can loop some more people into it because all the great stories tell these universal themes, and this movie is about family. It's about blood. It's a lot of fun. I wish I could call it a family film, but clearly it's not. But I would say there's a lot of comedy in it. There's some love, and I joke around saying I like to brand it the bloodiest romantic comedy, but maybe I can't do that. But I think you guys will have a lot of fun watching it.
So, Ludi, any places we're going to recognize when we're watching Mortal Kombat when it drops mid-April?
Well, I think you'll recognize Outworld if you're familiar with the game. I think you'll recognize, I think Earthrealm will keep you guessing. We shot this movie in so many wild places that I wouldn't even know they existed on this earth if I didn't go there myself. We shot it before the pandemic, and then we shot it during the pandemic. And before the pandemic, our director, Simon, he had a very clear image of how he wanted this to feel and look. And he wanted that physical analog grittiness that we're missing so much in the world of CG. So we hardly used any CG to shoot these things, which means that we had to suffer through long travels in the outback of Australia is where we shot this thing, in Southern Australia. So we went to places like Kubapidi, where 96% of the world's opal comes from. So they're all mines, and they've been turned into hotels and all these huge, massive digs that just looks like it's not from this planet. It looks like you're living in the fantasy realm that Mortal Kombat has set up so well over the years. And then during the pandemic, we replicated that on blue screens in studio. So it should look pretty incredible.
I mean, from the trailer, it looks insane. And all the actors in this movie must be doing, like, you guys must be doing 8 workouts a day because everybody looks super ripped. And not all that could be CGI. You know what I mean? You guys must be, like, training like crazy, whether it was before, during, I mean, whatever. You got to be in tip-top shape to do some of this stuff because I'm assuming you're doing a lot of the action that we're about to see as well, right? It's not all stunt people or whatever? Because I know you know how to do things.
We try to do as much as I can, and that's aligned with Simon's vision as well, because he wants us to feel real. He's a little bit adverse to that mode where you're watching the movie and all of a sudden you segue into like a CGI scene where it looks like a video game. Not to throw shade on the CGI sequences in Mortal Kombat, because I watched that for like 8 hours before we started shooting. But for this movie, yeah, we trained hard. I did more fighting than I've ever done in any other movie, actually. The stunt team was incredible. Our choreographers set up these things just on the fly, and there were so many changes and so many things that were difficult to accustom to, but they did such a good job in training us and keeping us safe. Actually, the biggest thing that helped was the motivation factor, because some of these scenes are just really grueling to get through in some of the harshest environments. But I'm here. I'm alive. I'm Liu Kang. It's all good.
Now, speaking of your character, was it actual homework to go home and play the game and find the old school one to kind of, get a sense of the characters? Or was it basically like, okay, well, you did that as a kid. Let's keep that locked in memory, but let's do it in a new revamped way. You know what I mean? Like, did you play beforehand to kind of get, okay, here's how Liu Kang was portrayed in the game? Like, what was the process like?
Well, speaking of training, that's probably 99% of the training that I did. I fired up my Sega Genesis and played a bit of Mortal Kombat 2, but I got really curious to see how it evolved over the years, because it's been more than 2 decades since that had come out, close to 30 years. So I got a Switch in MK11, and of course the only character I played was Liu Kang. I played that for months. And it's difficult. I mean, Liu Kang, he doesn't have many moves. He's still got the same moves. He's not like a jack of all trades, master of none. But he really focuses and hones in on these particular moves, 3 or 4 moves that he does over and over again, and they're super powerful. And that speaks to his character. I think he's just a pure guy like that, very, very single-minded, purely focused. It comes from his truth.
Now, without giving much away, will we potentially see, I'm just going to say it this way, Liu Kang and Sub-Zero on the same screen at the same time? Because, I mean, that would be something else. Without giving anything away.
You're just going to have to read it from my eyes. It'll be out very soon. You guys will see that.
Mortal Kombat.
You guys will find everything will be revealed. And keep your eyes sharp, because we try to pay a lot of respect to the video game and the original lore that's out there. So there's Easter eggs everywhere. Sometimes on set, I would just get this note saying, do me a favor and say this. I have no idea what it is. And later you find out, oh yeah, it refers to like an Easter egg that was started 17 years back.
Is there a rating on this movie yet? And if so, are you allowed to share it?
A rating? Look, we were, that was a really tough line to walk, I think, for the director and the producers. It's rated R.
Okay.
So yeah, it's the first R-rated Mortal Kombat movie, just in line with the game. But we're skimming pretty close to, what's the other rating? Something 17.
NC-17.
Yeah, NC-17. But it's not because of things that are, sometimes it's because of stupid reasons, like you can't say this, you can't say that, you say this however many times. But I don't think the violent is gratuitous. I think it's fun. I think every single fight and every like guttural instance of combat violence, blood, gore has its purpose and story, and every single fight of the characters really serves the character's own arc and story. So I think that's an important part.
Ludi, with the potential success of this movie, can you see a franchise being potentially born out of this, a second, a third, and more? Is that what the hope is for everybody involved?
Well, from what I gather from the fans, that's what the hope is for anyone who's following anything that has to do with Mortal Kombat. For myself, I think there's just so much potential in the whole universe, in this MKU that's been built up. And that was the first thing Simon said to me when we were discussing the role of Liu Kang, because I could sense that he just wanted something more than a simple action movie. He wanted to set up a universe that involves all realms of Mortal Kombat and have it represented in a way where it feels real and where we're living in it, where there's a purpose, and each individual place has its part in this greater scope. So hopefully we put enough in there to make you guys feel it, and then the rest is really up to the fans. So far we've had an overwhelming reception for the trailers, so I think people have been waiting for this for a long time. I think the old school guys like you and me, we're just waiting to pass this on to the next generation and show them what you remember the first time you heard that soundtrack in the Mortal Kombat movie and you really felt it. And it's like the soundtrack you play over and over again. So it's a movie that you can play in your head over and over again. So yeah, let's just say there's a lot of potential energy bottled up in this.
I was lucky enough to go to a high school where the guy who had the corner store had the actual physical game that you would pump the quarters in and whatnot. And I mean, people would line up after school to actually play the game on that old school, like arcade game style, as well as going home and playing it. I mean, it was just wild. And you'd just be like, I'm going to be this guy and you're going to be that guy. And to be able to see this on the screen, it's like you're living your childhood again. And it's going to be so much fun, man. April 16th, Mortal Kombat. Ludi Lin is playing Liu Kang. I can't wait to see what you do with the character. Final question, if you're able to tell me. Final question.
All right, let's go.
All right. Were you able to take any part of the costume / uniform / armor / what? Were you able to take any of it home with you? Or did you sneak some home?
Well, I feel like you guys really have it out for me. I feel like you guys really want to get me in trouble.
I'm just asking.
Well, let's just say I did not take Sub-Zero's sword.
He did not. That's all we need to hear.
I did not. No, I didn't. But I took this little piece of Liu Kang's, a little piece of twill that I braided into Liu Kang's hair, and I usually do something like that for my character to tie me to the character, because it always, you know, I play these roles and I try to instill a part of myself into them, but inevitably they leave me with something that I learned to take on to the next thing, which is the show Kung Fu that I'm on right now. So yeah, that's what it gave me. I took a piece of Liu Kang with me, and it's gonna stay with me forever.
Now that's shooting in Vancouver right now too. Real quick, where could we watch that? Where could we catch it? CW in the States. I don't know where we can see it here though, right?
Yeah, I think it's CW in the States, and I think it's CTV.
Okay.
Over here. Yeah, it's gonna come up soon. Come up really fast. April 7th is when it premieres. And Mortal Kombat is April 16th. So it's going to be a busy month.
Congrats, man, on everything, dude, honestly.
I appreciate you, man.
Okay, you too, man. Take care.